Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 4 of Big Bobby's Macchiato. Now, I got this funny story. So, one day I'm just walking around campus. I see a couple of my buddies in. So I stop by having a conversation and while I was chatting with them, I get this random unsolicited compliment from this dude that I never met before because he liked the cologne that I wear. And while I was happy about it, I was slightly disappointed it wasn't by somebody that actually gave a thing about. But makes me wonder, why don't us, Gen Z, don't just like go up to someone that we like and then just give them just a random nice compliment, like compliment them with their hair or how they smell, what perfume or cologne they're wearing, or their general looks. And it makes me wonder. So I went on the internet, and after getting lost into buying and spending over $500 of fragrances, because that's just what happens where you get sidetracked, and and you don't realize how much money is left in your bank account until you look at your statement and just go, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. No, 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 no." And so it brings me to this topic: dating. Why does it suck for us today? Previous generations made it seem easy, and it was kind of for them. But in this world, it's starting to become a little bit more difficult. And I could tell by experience, I am not the luckiest man in the world. No way. No way, mates. Nuh-uh. And so I did a little bit of research and chatted with a couple buddies. I fell into this rabbit hole of not just this dating problem, but also of a political split within Gen Z, where those who identify as the left tend to be more female, yet younger men tend to be a little bit more conservative. And then thinking about it, I was like, holy cow. It's actually kind of true because the amount of beef that I got with random people in college over my socioeconomic and societal views on such, it's actually kind of true. It's actually deeper than what many people would think. But then they always leave out this part which I think it's the point of view, but yet people always seem to leave out, especially when you go on to videos online explain this or reading certain articles from certain media sources, and I tend to wonder, we're just looking at the people participating in the date, but nobody's looking at what causes these things. Because what a lot of people forget is the parents also have a involvement in this that they may have forgotten about. Because how most people see the world, for a lot of them, it's by the influence of our parents. I mean, look at me. I mean, even amongst Albanians, when I compare myself to the other Albanians, most of the other Albanian guys are the Maloks. They tend to be sort of, gangster, like drogarash type stuff. Yeah, meanwhile, I'm more of a younger conservative. They may be listed to Don Johnny or Buta or what's that other guy? I don't know. One of the many rappers out there. Yet I'm just chilling in my car listening to Ilir Shachiri. And so it makes me wonder, is dating actually kind of worth it? Because for me, I've, experimented a few times. I've talked to several people, and for me, comparing and hearing some of the stuff that my, older relatives went through, I'm not really enjoying it, you know? And the worst part is, especially if you're doing it online, you meet a partner that you like, but then you find out that they live like so many kilometers away from you. It's like the only way this is gonna be worth it is if I have the funding to actually go and see them in person. Because there's a difference when you talk to somebody online and when you talk to somebody in person. Because when I'm online, I I have this thing where online I depict myself as like a big old jerk. Yeah, when you actually meet me in person, I'm like the sweetest guy you will ever meet in the world. And it makes me realize that people online and people are in person, they're completely polar opposites. Guarantee you, and I've seen it myself. Trust me. I mean, Albanians were pretty much all like that one way or another. I mean, trust me about it. And so, it makes me wonder, why do we have such troubles, especially when it comes to dating? Like, where you get some people who pretty much, I would say, they abuse it. A lot of guys, like the playboy types, like guys who like probably listen to a little bit too much Andrew Tate. Like, those types of guys, they kind of ruin dating for the average man. Now, some people be like, "Oh, what's your problem? Andrew's based." And I'm just like, listen, mate. First of all, Andrew's parents were divorced, okay? You gotta understand. And people growing up in a divorced parent household are gonna be different than people who grew up in a household with both of their parents. That's just a simple fact. All right? You just gotta understand that. And think with Andrew is he grew up in a crappy part of England. Okay. A second, looking at Andrew the way he's like, he seems to be a little bit more insecure. You think about it, he's definitely a narcissistic. I'm just gonna tell you. I mean, I would say he did do good on making money. I mean, dude made it with the money, but like socially, dude has got quite a few problems. I would say. It's like he claims to be this, but then some of his actions that he does contradict what he claims. And this is a lot of the stuff where, especially for guys, we're lacking a strong role model. I mean, it's true. I mean, for a lot of men, young man, a lot of us don't really have a role model to look up to. A lot of us don't. I mean, why? You know, and it's that lack of a role model is why so many guys, including myself for a while, thought that nobody cares about us. We're on our own, we got to deal with this stuff head on. Head on. All right? And you know, and this is something that a lot of people tend to overlook, which I think we shouldn't overlook. Because at the end, soon enough, we're going to be the ones that are going to be in charge of the political world, the younger generation. All of us. Because, and if we're not ready to do that, we're going to go through a societal collapse. And so, what options do we have? Well, not a lot, to be honest. I mean, the reason why I haven't really gone out of dating is because it's this fear of like trying not to seem a little bit too needy, too like I don't want to say the word itself, but some of you may get the idea where I'm coming from. And this idea of trying not to like seem weird, seem like a normal guy. But the thing is, there is no normal guy anymore. The normal dude is gone. He's gone. And so you wonder why? Why is he gone? You know, especially being a college campus, get so many people of so many different views. Yet there's this hypocrisy where you allow one person to say something, but then when the other side has a rebuttal, you want to shut them down. And it's this type of hypocrisy is why so many men that I've seen myself are just done. They're just done with this society. They're done with dating, done with people. They're gonna live their lives in a pretty much in a hermit state. And I just find that sad because I want to be social. I want to hang out with people, but so many people are messed up. It's sad, and I'm not enjoying it, especially here in the U.S. I was born and grew up in the U.S. I grew up in the Midwest. And over the past few years, what I'm seeing with society here, I'm disappointed. I mean, this is really becoming like an identity crisis because although I have a U.S. citizenship, I also have a Kosovo passport, where, more times than ever, I've considered like just moving in Kosovo. I have my family has an apartment there. I could just move there. Be pretty easy. Make income from online and such. And yeah, that whole process of like moving to another country, it's not that easy. The amount of little stuff they have to set up is actually saying, gotta start a new internet plan, new phone service, electricity, your water, set up a new bank account. All these types of little things that were once a convenience to us here now become a real chore. It's become a pain in the butt, and it makes me wonder, like, am I really gonna enjoy this, especially the way with society is? Because like, I want to give the U.S. another chance, but how am I supposed to give it another chance when a lot of the people here don't want to accept it? That's a real reason, because like, you look at John F. Kennedy's inaugural address. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And I took that, I try to implement that as, my ideal views for the U.S. What can I do to make it better? Because at the end of this, we're all in this together, We all have to work together one way or another, We can't be beggars forever. At this point, there's a point you have to realize you have to take action. You got to take the initiative, and you have to go for it. And so I tried that, but especially with today's political climate, nobody wants to hear what the other person has to say anymore. And it's just disappointing. It's disappointing, especially, in a country where we value, free ideas and free expression, but nobody wants it for the other side. At this point, people have become hypocritical to their own ideal beliefs. And that's just sad, Where I have to be more cautious where with some of the things that I have to say. I have to be more cautious here in the U.S. than in Kosovo. When I was in Pristina, I truly felt happy. I truly felt I was in a place where I was happy. I could socialize with people. I can make friends. I can make new friends. I can interact with people there. Because when I was in Pristina, I felt like, not just because I'm Albanian myself, duh, but I just felt like, I was amongst the locals, I went into the cafe. I drank macchiatos, that costed only €1 and such. And I was talking to this with some of my other buddies, and a lot of them felt the same. Honestly, I mentioned his name so many times. He has to come here Sunday, but my buddy Joe, like, he's sort of not enjoying it. Like, he appreciates like culture in Europe more than American culture. And the thing about American culture is, compared to Europe, it's pretty artificial. It's not like a natural culture. And the thing with America compared to the world is, America is still a relatively young country. I mean, there's like many houses in Europe that are like older than the U.S. itself. So you got to understand that, first of all. Like, especially a lot of the Americans, like, give it crap on Europe. Hold your horses, because let me tell you something. A lot of those European countries, a lot of those people, a lot of the places that you see, they're older than the U.S. So remember that. Yeah. Because right now, like, especially like what I'm seeing recently, like, especially like with society, it feels like that America's gotten to a point where they don't care about anything anymore, where they just let themselves become like filthy, almost degenerate, antisocial behavior. Where to the point where I pretty much say this: the U.S. that I once remembered as a child is dead. It's dead to me. America has changed, and I am not liking it because although I want to do things that could help this country, how am I supposed to help someone when they refuse to accept that help? And this is the problem going on I've seen right now, because not only because this is an election year, but especially like what's going on around the world, stuff is getting tense. It's getting tense. All right. You got to know this. All right. I mean, I even saw this where I was listening to an episode of, I now remember what's the show, but it's like a show that like Andrew Schultz was part of. They had an ex-CIA spy. Ex-CIA spy even admitted that American culture is the most ignorant in the world. And Andrew Schultz played into that because he was like, we're number one, baby. Woo! It's crazy, and I tried discussing this with this other people, but at the end, especially like those more on the like the Republican conservative side, uh, when I actually told them about like some of my gripes with it, they didn't want to hear it. And I asked why you don't want to hear it. You complain when the other person complains about not hearing something that they don't like. Why are you being the same? Why you are being a hypocrite? And in fact, you know what? That's the problem. So many people here are hypocrites. The media, the politicians, a lot of people, they are hypocritical. Their actions that they do contradict to what they had just said. It's honestly ridiculous. It's kind of point where I'm pretty much done with American politics now. It's an unwinnable world. At the end, everybody loses. Everybody bloody loses. So, what should we do? At this point, it's going to be a few more years of nightmares. If we truly want change, especially for a younger generation, we're going to have to take action. We got to be more willing to speak up. Okay? We got to know how to take a hit. Some of us need to know how to take an L, because at the end, we're not going to win every battle. But just because you don't win every battle doesn't mean you're going to lose a war. Remember that. I mean, even with the dating world, I've taken so many L's yet. With each L, I've gotten better the next battle I went into. So remember that, because it's like a game of chess. A pawn may take down a queen, but the war doesn't end unless the king has fallen. And I want you leaving with that quote in your mind. Because although so many people who I've considered my queen have been taken down by so many different pawns, I'm still standing. Remember that. Because if the king is still standing, then the war is still going. Because what happened to the days where leaders would be with their men on the front lines? Nowadays, especially in wars, you see generals, giving commands in like air conditioned tents and stuff like. Yet, what happened to the generals who were once on the battlefield in the side of danger, giving out orders while also firing their weapons? What happened to those types of generals? Because if we were to have those generals, the outcome of the wars that we would get ourselves into would be very much different. I want to see that type of stuff again. And so, I have a question for all of you. What would you do if you're in those types of situations? What would you do if you're in a situation where you're not sad, but you're also not happy? You're just feeling empty inside. What would you do to change it? Because although I'm feeling myself in that sort of situation, I haven't lost hope. I am not leaving this battle yet. I am not quitting. I am not backing down. And I am certainly standing on both of my feet. Even though my heart has been shattered many, many, many times, despite that, I'm still here. And so, it comes to where you think to yourself, I've been shattered so many times, yet I'm still here. Maybe there is a purpose for us. We just haven't found it. Some of us maybe a little bit too impatient. And so, I want you to take this message. Next time you see yourself in a cafe, drinking your favorite drink, whether it be espresso, cappuccino, or macchiato, I want you to think to yourself, think of what have you done, what accomplished that you've made. Because at the end, you determine your own fate. Try not to let others dictate what you can't or can decide. Because the ultimate complete person is one who lives with self-determination, who doesn't let the influence of others easily make his own decisions. And so, remember this. No matter how down you may be, you will always find a way to bring yourself back and to come out stronger. Because so many times I felt myself down, yet there was a little light that made me get back up and continue on this dangerous, adventurous journey. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. We'll see you again the next episode.